Coming up, the real estate market in Indiana remains red hot. Many homes on the market getting multiple offers well over list price. Meantime, the cost of new home construction is soaring. How long will it last? We get some answers from real estate broker Greg Cooper. The Jasper County Jail in Rensselaer is now using solar energy to combat rising energy costs. A more than 2,000 panel solar array will generate most of the jail's energy needs. Sheriff Pat Williamson and Jasper County Commissioner Kendall Culp explain how. Plus,
I'm Mary Rachel Redmond in Henry County, where there's a new bakery with fantastic homemade donuts and a heartfelt story. More on these donuts coming up.
Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Forbes calling the Indianapolis housing market one to watch in 2021. Residential real estate in Indy and much of Indiana remains very tight, with home selling quickly and for well above list price. Meantime, new home construction prices remain very high, fueled by lumber prices and the availability of labor. For some perspective on what buyers and sellers can expect in the year ahead, pleased to be joined by Keller Williams Realty real estate broker Greg Cooper. Greg, as always, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Gary.
Okay, you and I have talked the last several times over the course of the past year plus about the market being so tight. It remains that way. How tight is the housing market?
Well, just as an example, a random township, and this is a representative township here in central Indiana, and it's really this way whether you're in Jeffersonville or South Bend or wherever. A random township in central Indiana 3 years ago on April 1st might have had 200 homes for sale, and today they have 48. So basically you have 100 people trying to buy 25 homes right now in most places in the state of Indiana.
That is crazy, and obviously demand, it's a seller's market. Homes, the inventory is tight. You're talking about 60% fewer listings today than 1 year ago.
Yeah, well, it's really true. And we've kind of changed a little bit. You know, we had a fear of putting our homes on the market for quite a while because of COVID, an understandable fear, but that's changed dramatically in the last 60 days as the psychology of the vaccine has taken over, Gary. What we have gone from is a fear of COVID, why people weren't putting their homes on the market, to a true fear of, oh my goodness, where am I going to go? My home's going to sell in an hour and a half. That's kind of where we are today.
Wow. So how can buyers and sellers, especially buyers, manage this situation? I know you and I were talking earlier. You're saying cash is not necessarily king anymore.
No, because sellers are taking the appraisals out of the process. So sellers are saying, Mr. Buyer, I don't care what the appraisal comes back at. You need to prove to us, if you're going to be the worthy buyer, that you can cover any differentiation between the sale price and the appraisal. If you can't do it, you're not my buyer. And buyers are doing it. So what that means for a seller and a buyer is, I don't care if you got $350,000 cash or if you got $350,000 worth of worthiness. It doesn't matter to me because I'm getting the money as a seller one way or another.
Well, let's flip over to new home construction, because there's some really interesting dynamics there too, been going on for a while, and that's the cost of new home construction has skyrocketed, in part because of the cost of lumber, labor, and those types of things. Give us a perspective, Greg, on the cost of new construction.
Well, one builder told me a week ago that the cost of the trusses alone for the homes that he's trying to build have gone up $6,000 since the first of the year. A piece of 4x8 board, like a press board effectively, that lines the framing of many homes, $15 a sheet a year ago, 4 and 5 multiples of that today. So the costs are just exploding for new construction. And a lot of consumers think, Gary, that the builders are just trying to gouge them. They're not. These are real costs out there.
Okay, you've set it up, we've teed it up there. As you look at the remainder of 2021, what should, first of all, buyers, a difficult situation out there, what should they keep in mind going through the rest of this year?
try and keep your head. I know this is an emotional time. Buyers are trying to buy 4 and 5 and 6 houses, and it's frustrating and they're beat down. I get it. But here's something to keep in mind. In the last 12 months, the average median price in the state of Indiana has appreciated 18.9%. If you're a buyer, keep at it. Because if you can buy a home in the next few months to the latter part of the summer, and it's not going to slow down between now and then, a year from now, I think we're going to see the same thing, and you're going to have put equity in your pocket. So be patient and be diligent.
Anything, I mean, the sellers seem to be in control. Anything they should keep in mind this year?
Well, it sounds super easy because you got 14 people lined up to buy your house, but the details of the sale must be right. You must understand how to structure the inspection in your transaction. You must understand how to structure the appraisal. You must understand all of the things that give you leverage, and to properly put them in an equation that give you the most leverage and the safest path to a closing. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Interesting perspective as always from Greg Cooper. Greg, thanks very much. A red-hot housing market doesn't look to slow down anytime soon. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the future.
Great to be here.
All right. Well, he served in the White House as Indiana governor, in the private sector, and now as Purdue University's 12th president. Mitch Daniels is my guest this week on the next episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. He's put together really an incredible career in public service, politics, the private sector, and now academia. He shared some of his favorite memories aboard RV-1 on the 2004 campaign trail for governor, traveling to all 92 counties, the My Man Mitch slogan, and overnight stays with more than 129 Hoosier families.
Everything, farm families, inner city minority families, and everything in between. And those are great, great memories. And again, I learned a lot. I always said you'd be amazed how much you can learn in that last, half hour before lights out.
Really covered a lot of territory in a fascinating conversation with Purdue President Mitch Daniels. It's the 10th episode of the Business and Beyond podcast, starting Monday. To check it out, just go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com and click on the subscribe tab. Well, no more extra blankets in the winter, fans in the summer, and huge energy bills for those working and living behind bars at the Jasper County Jail. Details on the switch to solar power and how it's saving the county some bucks. It's time to go inside innovation, brought to you by Allegiant, pioneering safety. Well, solar energy is grabbing the attention of a lot of cities, counties, school districts, and other organizations throughout the state of Indiana and the country. All those places looking for ways to get a handle on energy costs. The Jasper County Jail in Rensselaer, a 120-bed correctional facility, certainly among them. Solar energy could generate 50 to all of the jail's energy needs. And I'm pleased to welcome to the show Jasper County Sheriff Pat Williamson and Jasper County Commissioners President Kendall Culp. And gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
To tee things up, this has been an ongoing issue for well over a decade, and that's the really serious issues with heating and cooling at the jail. Sheriff, give us an idea of how challenging it was in the winter with blankets, et cetera. How challenging were those issues at the jail?
Well, we weren't able to even adjust our environments inside many of our rooms in the jail, in the office portion, the admin area. Some of the offices were at a rate of, 50 degrees and, wearing good clothing that's thin. In the wintertime indoors, it made it difficult to work. Our inmates were given extra blankets and sweatshirts, that type of thing, to keep them warm. We had humidity levels in the summertime that were really out of control, making, our business side of it with papers and so forth very difficult to work.
Yeah. Kendall, talk about that cost issue, because obviously the commissioners, now there's looking very closely at that. It had gotten, as you told me off camera here a minute ago, pretty much gotten out of control.
Yes, it was. We were having a hard time even controlling online with our software, the temperatures in the jail, whether it was summer or winter, heat and cold. So it was really a mess, and we were really struggling with how to resolve it.
Yeah, Kendall, from a commissioner's standpoint, what were the things you really looked at when the suggestion came to go solar? Did everybody kind of buy in at that point?
Yeah, it was such a unique idea that we've had heating and cooling issues at the jail since construction, since it was designed. It was faulty, and so we've dealt with high utility bills. And the worst part of it was, even though we were paying high utility bills, there still was not a comfort level within the jail for our employees, and that just wasn't acceptable. And we just tried a myriad of different options and different things that we tried to improve the situation. And so when Train came forward with the thought of maybe we should look at a renewable option to look at solar, it actually started with a solar option to heat our domestic water needs. And so we started with that, and actually from there we thought, if we're really going to have a big impact, make a big difference as far as lowering our utility costs, then we need to look at powering the whole jail with solar energy. And so that's really how it started. And we were so intrigued with that. We signed on with Train to lead this project for us. And really, we had instant buy-in from everyone. I mean, we were so excited to have an option that we thought would work compared to everything else we tried. Why we just went forward with it immediately.
Yeah, so 2,300 roughly panel solar array right next to the jail. Been operational since January or late January, I guess. Just had a ribbon cutting this week. Can you talk about savings? What you're seeing at least in these first few months?
Well, we definitely have. Of course, we've had a fairly cold winter those few months. We have seen our utility bills drop, and we've looked and done some projections. We financed this for 15 years, which is a fairly long time to finance that. But we've done that because we believe with our projections, we can cash flow this project just through the energy savings we've received. Wow. Which, it's not too often you can make a capital investment and cash flow that over time, but we really feel that that's achievable.
Technology used in a variety of ways increasingly. Those two companies involved, Train Technologies here in Indianapolis and Salential Energy in Carmel. Sheriff Pat Williamson, Jasper County, Kendall Culp, the president of the commissioners, thank you both. Interesting story. We look forward to following up in the months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Very welcome.
Well, this week, Indianapolis-based Casted, a B2B podcast platform, announced it had raised $7 million in a Series A funding round led by Revolution Ventures in Washington, D.C. Now, the company says the round also includes current investors, High Alpha Capital, Elevate Ventures, and Tappan Hill Ventures. The startup enables B2B enterprises to leverage audio and video content as a sales and marketing tool. Casted's customers include PayPal and HubSpot. Its platform, the system of record for Salesforce's more than 25 podcasting shows worldwide. By the end of 2020, last year, Casted says it had quadrupled revenue, tripled its customer base, and doubled its team size. Up next, two young brothers with big business dreams in small town Indiana. Mary Rachel Redmond takes us to the corner of Main and Washington in Knightstown to check out why family is first for the owners of Ye Old Corner Bakery. Here's what's making news now around Indiana. Brought to you by Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. The man for all seasons, Chapman, chapmanheating.com. Well, it's been a bakery on Main Street in Knightstown for more than 60 years. In January, the quaint farm-to-table eatery changed hands from an older sister to her younger brothers. And the result has been nothing short of a big success. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has more from Ye Old Corner Bakery in Knightstown.
It's been over 30 years since Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper, and Hollywood traveled to Knightstown, Indiana to shoot one of the most iconic underdog sports movies of all time.
I'll make it.
And just down the street from the Hickory Gym, there's another underdog story cooking up, just as heartwarming and heroic as Jimmy Chitwood's last-second shot.
She ended up buying it on March 1st, right before the pandemic started.
The it he's referring to is the 60-year-old bakery at 210 East Main Street in Knightstown. And the she is his older sister, Lauren.
She lost a lot of employees because they were collecting unemployment. But she was making the donuts, she was cooking during service, and she was serving everyone, working 90 hours a week just to try to keep it open.
The backbreaking hours as solo owner and operator of the bakery began to take its toll.
She started to break down, she couldn't do it.
Then came the phone call.
She called us one day and said, "Can't do it anymore. Can you guys help me out?"
That's when younger brothers Keith and Jared Owen made one of the biggest decisions of their young careers.
She finished December 19th. We bought it the week after Christmas.
And on January 6, 2021, Ye Olde Corner Bakery became a brother-owned business.
I work here full time, and then Jared makes the donuts at night.
Jared, the slightly older of the two, works a 9-to-5 as vice president of operations for Anderson Motor Speedway, moonlighting as chief baker by night.
It takes about 6 hours to make donuts. The goal is to be here by 7 o'clock, and if I can leave by 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, that's ideal.
Oh, wow. I see a lot of deliciousness. So how many flavors of donuts do you have?
We have over 40 flavors of donuts here.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Samoa cookie. So good. So good.
A lot of donuts.
Oh my gosh. You can tell it's homemade.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like your typical donut. That is incredible.
Made with love.
Caramel, chocolate, and coconut. Mm-hmm. Oh my.
And just when you think it can't get better than homemade donuts, Ye Olde Corner Bakery serves a killer breakfast made with all locally sourced food.
So all of our omelets that we serve in the mornings come with either a donut for your bread choice or homemade English muffin toast. We cook everything to order here.
And when it comes to the business, each brother knows their strengths.
I'm a numbers person, so I can tell you, like, this week was really good, this week was not good type thing. Keith knows the pulse of the people, so he kept telling me our regulars are starting to multiply. Where it was 10 a morning, now we're getting 20, now you're getting 30. So the word's getting out, and it's only skyrocketed. So it's picking up each and every week.
And although owning a bakery was never part of their original plans, both Owen brothers are grateful to their older sister for the unexpected opportunity.
I think everything happens for a reason. I always say that. We're both young, so it's like, why not?
I hope that she knows how big of a part of our success she is, because we wouldn't be here without her, without Knightstown.
Mary Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. Also making headlines around Indiana this week, New Jersey-based Catalent is ramping up production of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine at its facility in Bloomington. The Wall Street Journal first reporting that Moderna had agreed to increase vaccine production at the contract manufacturing operation. The company plans to begin shipping the new doses next month. The new production line will allow Catalent to fill an additional 80 million vials per year. Catalent says it will dedicate its new filling line for Moderna's use through June of 2023. There appears to be growing optimism on America's farms, stemming from strong commodity prices and improved financial conditions. The latest Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer rose 12 points. Purdue's Center for Commercial Agriculture says the reading marks the highest level since October. The barometer showed optimism in both future expectations and current conditions. The Ag Economy Barometer calculated each month from 400 U.S. agricultural producers' responses to a telephone survey. Up next, small Hoosier businesses serving up tasty treats for mom just in time for Mother's Day. Yelp's Brittany Smith crisscrosses the state to sample some of the finest cookies made by Indiana entrepreneurs. That's in this month's Trendiana. Stay with us. Well, Hoosier bakeries around Indiana are baking up some delicious cookies, some with unique flavor combinations. To satisfy your sweet tooth this week, you don't really even have to leave your home. You can have them shipped to your mailbox. In this month's Trendiana segment, Yelp's Senior Regional Lead, Marketing and Communications, Brittany Smith, here to show us some of these tasty offerings just in time for Mother's Day. And Brittany, as always, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me, Gary.
Yeah, it's very challenging for me because these cookies are about a foot away from me and they smell great. But as mentioned, cookie shops around and bakeries around the state, and a lot of these, if you're looking for Mother's Day gifts, you can just order them and have them shipped directly to where you want them to go.
So true. And this roundup gives you a little bit of a taste of the innovative type cookies that are coming on to the market, as well as some of the classics.
Yeah. And our first stop is here in Indianapolis, Salamat cookies. That's a great example, again, of really a different flavor, if you will, and a different vibe when it comes to cookies.
Exactly. Yeah, this business actually started out at the beginning of COVID. The owner, Mike, he lost his job, was looking for a way to, start out a business. And now he's 30,000 cookies later.
Wow.
And he's making these beautiful Philippine-inspired gourmet cookies with flavors like dark chocolate, chili mango, using ingredients like ube, coconut. There's some really fun designs, and you can actually get them as pickup and ship throughout the country. They're really interesting flavors.
Holy cow, you talk about unique. You said it.
Yes, they're beautiful.
Let's go now to Franklin and Main and Madison Market.
Yeah, if you've never been there, it's located in this historic building right off the historic square in downtown Franklin. It's really beautiful space. They've got plenty of outdoor seating and carry out. They are known in their Yelp reviews for the stuffed peanut butter cookie, which I know you can smell right there, Gary, in front of you, as well as their classic chocolate chunk cookies. They also have a lot of great savory and sweet pastries made in-house. And for Mother's Day, they're actually doing some really fun brunch kits to go, as well as these cookie decorating kits. So you can go home and buttercream ice your own cookies with the family.
All right. And a woman-owned and operated business in Bloomington, Two Sticks.
Yes, Two Sticks Bakery. This is a really fun spin on the classic Oreo. It's called the Oreo, and it's popular in their reviews. But then if maybe for those who are looking for something classic, their chocolate chip cookie is always trending in their Yelp reviews as well. And you can really grab a fun coffee or latte there to accompany your cookies.
All right, moving back to Indianapolis, Fletcher Place and Emilia's.
Yeah, when we pull the data of the top cookie in the state, Emilio's Bakery keeps getting a great spot on that list. And actually, they're going to be opening a second location here soon in Windsor Park on the Near East side of Indy. Right now, they're located in the really fun, historic Fletcher Place neighborhood. And Yelpers can't get enough of not only their chocolate chip cookies with sea salt, but the chocolate buckwheat cookies and the oat cookies. And while you're there, grab a pastry. You can't go wrong.
Got it. Okay, only about 20 seconds. Magic Morning Bakery, that's in Bedford.
Yes, classic style moms and pops kind of bakery, open 12 hours a day, Tuesday through Saturday, and they're known for the smiley face cookie, really charming and good for the family.
Brittany, as always, a great tour around the state just in time for Mother's Day. I have a cookie, too, that I'm going to taste here right now, so thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
You enjoy it. Thanks, Gary.
Ahead in our next half hour, examining what happens after college students get the COVID-19 vaccine. Can they still spread the virus? IU researchers on the front line with a new study that could make a big impact on life after the pandemic. Kylie Valletta has details. Well, as COVID-19 vaccines continue to roll out in Indiana and throughout the country, a critical question looms. Can vaccinated people still spread the virus? A nationwide study is tapping college students to help answer that question, and Indiana University is the only college in Indiana to be part of that study. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you very much, Gary. Because college students live in such close quarters, scientists say they're the ideal group to answer the question. While vaccines protect against serious symptoms, scientists are unsure if the vaccinated person can silently spread the disease to others. The answer will have far-reaching implications, including when employers could safely bring their workers back to the office. Here to tell us more about the study and IU's role is Dr. Christina Ludema, an assistant professor at the IU School of Public Health in Bloomington. Dr. Ludema, thanks for being on the show today.
Glad to be here.
All right, let's start with what we don't know about after you're vaccinated and why this question in particular is especially important to answer.
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, the research is really strong on the ability of the COVID vaccines to prevent serious disease and death. which is great news because as more people are vaccinated, that's translating into fewer deaths and fewer hospitalizations. And we also know that vaccine prevents asymptomatic disease, meaning that silent spread piece that you just talked about. And what we don't know is vaccination also prevents spread. And continued spread means that the push to get everyone who's at high risk for serious disease to get vaccinated is even more urgent, and we have more concerns about new variants coming into the picture.
Okay, so you say that college campuses really are great places to do this kind of research. Explain why that is and exactly what all of these college students will be doing.
Yeah, so they're a great population to do this research for three main reasons. They live with other people in dorms or with roommates, and so there's sort of a high concentration of people living together. They're really enthusiastic about contributing to the science to end the pandemic. I've been really pleased with the response to this research study. And thirdly, they're also tech savvy. So a bunch of the components that we have for data collection involve using your cell phone for sort of a daily diary situation, and it's going to be a good setup for that as well. And so in terms of what the students will be doing in the trial, they're going to be doing daily nasal swabs, they're going to do 3 blood draw visits, and then answer these survey questions using the app that I was just talking about.
Okay, so the results are expected in the early fall. What do you think you will find?
Yeah, our expectation is that the Moderna vaccine does prevent spread. So that's the vaccine that we're testing in this study. And that can shape our future conversations about what life looks like post-pandemic.
So IU has the capacity to enroll about 500 students total. What has response been like so far? I know this is brand new. And how many have you enrolled so far?
Yeah, so we're just getting started. We've got 8 participants so far. And gotten a lot of great enthusiasm. So looking forward to moving along.
So as you mentioned, this study relies on the Moderna vaccine. It's using the Moderna vaccine. Could the results translate to the other vaccines?
Yeah, our expectation is that with both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine would perform pretty similarly in terms of spread. Since they're both mRNA vaccines, we expect the results from our trial to apply also to the Pfizer vaccine as well.
So how do you think this study also helps translate to decisions all of us are making about life after vaccination? One thing we mentioned is employers. How does this help them decide when it's okay to bring employees back to the office?
Yeah, so the main concern with continued spread of COVID-19 is that, as I mentioned, there's going to be 2 pieces with that. One is the potential for people who remain unvaccinated to have serious disease. So for example, for an employer, you might have a person in your office who can't get the vaccine for really legitimate health reasons. If that's the case, for most vaccines, we're looking for this possibility of herd immunity, where everyone getting vaccinated protects those people in the population who can't get vaccinated. So again, thinking about those people who can't for health reasons. Also, small babies are in that category. You can't get vaccines right away when they're small. So when we're thinking about the kinds of decisions that we can make post-pandemic, do you want to bring someone back into the office who has one of these health conditions and can't get vaccinated? If everyone in the office is vaccinated and the vaccines do prevent spread, you feel a lot more comfortable asking that person to come back into work.
And also, we have just a few seconds left, but explain just a little bit about how IU has a really great framework set up already to be part of this study. I think you said students really don't even have to see another human being for the study, except for like one interaction. All of this is done through the framework that you already have set up.
Exactly. So IU has been doing a great job with their mitigation testing setup. They've been testing many students on campus once or twice a week. And that framework is making it easy to answer the research questions because students are already coming in on a regular basis to do the SARS-CoV-2 testing. So in combination with the tech resources that we have, we know that we're asking a lot of our study participants, but not very many in-person interactions, as you just mentioned, Kylie.
All right. Well, Dr. Ludema, thanks so much for being on the show today, and good luck with this study. We'll certainly be following up with you to hear the results.
Great. Thanks so much, Kylie.
And Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, mastering a second or third language can be a valuable tool for students to be effective and productive business leaders in a global economy. Two of the most widely used languages in the world right now, Mandarin and Arabic. But it's tough to find resources to learn them. That's why the International School of Indiana is partnering with IU's Hamilton Luger School, a global leader in the study of international affairs and language, to teach kids how to speak Mandarin and Arabic through summer camps. And for more, very pleased to be joined by International School of Indiana Head of School Elizabeth Head and IU Hamilton Luger School for Global and International Studies Dean Lee Feinstein. And again, welcome to you both to the program.
Thank you, Gary.
These summer camps, brand new, really innovative idea. Elizabeth, I'll start with you. How did the idea for these language summer camps come about?
Well, really, it started with our governor, and the governor has stated that his vision for the state of Indiana is to bring Indiana to the world and the world to Indiana. And therefore, ISI, the International School of Indiana, was also founded on helping students become more globally minded to give back to Indiana for business development. Well, coincidentally, IU has an outstandingly strong program in languages. And when we realized the partnership and collaboration that we could have between the two institutions to support the vision for Indiana, we realized this was a perfect next step for our organizations.
Yeah, and I would assume Indiana University and the Hamilton Luger School, a perfect partner. Lee, first of all, talk about the school, because it is really in the center of doing some really creative and global, things on a global scale. Give us a quick thumbnail of the school. Whoop, Lee, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. A quick thumbnail of the school on the Hamilton Luger School for Global and International Studies, really making an impact on a global scale.
Well, thanks so much. We're so happy to have a partnership with the International School, and the IU Hamilton Luger School, named after Dick Luger and Lee Hamilton, has really emerged as one of the nation's largest international affairs schools. And like the International School of Indiana, we teach more than 70 languages, which we think is the most in the nation. And it builds on this long tradition. And one of the things that our two schools have in common is Dick Luger, who was central to the concept that led to the founding of ISI, and also obviously very much at the center of the founding of our school.
Okay, these summer camps, this collaboration between your two organizations, Lee, these students, these young people are really going to get the benefit of access to the great talent, the teachers at IU. Talk about how it's going to work.
Yeah, for sure. So most of the folks who will be camp counselors and teachers are people we work with all year round on campus in Bloomington. So for the older students, they'll get a little bit of a taste at what it might be like to, the older campers, I should say, what it's like to be on a university campus and learn a language. And for the younger ones, we hope that this will be a first positive experience. And one of the things we try to do is import into the camp some of the things we learn on campus, which is that the best way to learn a language is to live it. So it's camp, it's not school. So we want them to learn through different activities, cooking, music, sports. And this way they can really have a great positive exposure to a different culture and different languages.
And Elizabeth, the languages that will be focused on Mandarin and Arabic, why those two languages? I know there's a business connection as well.
There is. Indiana has been looking at how to continue to attract talent from around the world, how to attract foreign investment. And we know that part of that is helping professionals to go into the world that speak these languages. Mandarin and Arabic in particular have a very strong business focus right now all around the world, some of the fastest growing languages right now to be spoken. So we knew these would be key for helping our students either go on to IU or go into the world in the business community. And as Lee mentioned, we're actually going to be offering this from pre-K students all the way up through grade 12. in a very friendly, fun environment, but a great way to be exposed to these essential languages.
And Elizabeth, as I understand, you're going to be offering scholarships as well.
We are, due to the generosity of IU and some grant dollars that they have been able to apply toward teacher salaries, where ISI is now able to offer over 30 scholarships to students from families of all different financial needs, so that families who normally wouldn't participate in a summer camp like this will now have the opportunity to participate. In fact, if anyone would like to go to www.isind.org, that's isind.org, right on the main page, you'll see the sign up for the summer camps.
Very good. And Lee, I know you're very excited about the opportunity to be able to offer these scholarships to really broaden the access to the camps.
Oh, thanks so much. And thanks, Elizabeth. You know, it's so important that young people get an early and positive exposure to learning languages. And we've been able to do this thanks to the great work of Senator Young and our entire congressional delegation, and of course our faculty, who have led to really generous contributions by the Department of Education that's allowing us to support our teachers in providing this opportunity for our state.
All right, some foreign language, international language summer camps this summer here in Indianapolis. Elizabeth Head, the head of school at the International School of Indiana, also Lee Feinstein from IU's Hamilton Luger School for Global and International Studies. Thank you both. We look forward to following the story.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Well, Purdue University President Mitch Daniels is my guest this week on the Business and Beyond podcast. He's put together a remarkable career in public service, politics, the private sector, and now academia, where he serves as Purdue's 12th president. Daniels very visible on campus, too, working out with students in the gym, eats with them in dining halls, rubs shoulders with them in the stands at Boilermaker football games. He tells me that initially he was a bit apprehensive about taking the Purdue job until his wife, Sherry, stepped in.
She walked me back through essentially every job I'd had since being a young person, and said, you know, when Dick Luger asked you to go to the Senate, had you ever worked in Washington? No. When Ronald Reagan's people asked you to come to the White, you ever worked in the White House? No. You know, when Lilly called, had you ever been in the pharmaceutical business? No, all the way. And she said, so, you know, you chicken, what are you worried about? You figured those out. Maybe you can figure this out.
Much more with Purdue President and former Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels starting Monday on the Business and Beyond podcast. To check it out, just go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com and click on the subscribe tab. Well, what a difference a year makes for Grand Park in Westfield. A year ago, no games, no visitors, no revenue in the early months of the pandemic. Fast forward to today, a much different story, which could produce a big economic win. Details when we come back. Well, a year ago, Grand Park sat empty as the pandemic took hold. Westfield's sports tourism economic engine would sit idle for a number of weeks. It cost the region millions of dollars, but eventually the campus reopened under strict health and safety guidelines and began actually to see a big revenue boost in June and July. Now Grand Park bracing for what it believes could be a record number of visitors for this year's spring and summer sports seasons. And for more, I'm pleased to be joined by Grand Park Director William Knox. William, as always, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go back a year. I know painful to do that, I'm sure, but as the pandemic began, things essentially shut down. So you had to, no games, no field activity, and no revenue, right?
Yeah, we shut our doors for about a 60-day period, and it commenced on March 16th. And at that point in time, we had no clue what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, you were able to reopen in May, I think, and under strict health protocols, you're able to kind of, soldier on through the pandemic. And actually, you reported a cash positive year for 2020. To me, is a pretty amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, it came with a lot of work, and I will tell you, it was all of what we had to do internally, as well as what we were able to do with the state to ensure we were able to reopen safely. When we opened our doors back, we could only allow a small number of visitors to the campus. So we had to figure out programming and activity that we could conduct within those small numbers.
You were able to get some events last year, some tournaments, some games that were scheduled elsewhere because you were operating in the pandemic. Did that performance, do you think that may bode well for you going forward in terms of maybe attracting more business this year?
Absolutely. And I give a lot of credit to our state leadership and our ability to come up with good plans. A lot of event organizers found us for the first time in 2020, and now will look to host events with us in the future.
Well, let's talk about looking forward now. We fast forward to 2021, just getting ready for that very busy season for you. I know the expectation is this could be your best year ever.
I would say we're trending in that direction. And if all things continue down that path, I think it could be a very strong year for us. When we look at our booking numbers through our hotel partners and also field rent reservations and things of that nature, things are trending in the right direction. On average, we've seen about 2.3 visitors per athlete. This year, we're currently trending at about 3 visitors per athlete.
And I think it's important to note, too, the economic impact for Westfield and the region is substantial. So it's not just Grand Park, but it is the hotels, the restaurants, the other venues there that really get a lot of business. And you, in many respects, were a lifeline a year ago by being able to stay open.
Absolutely. A lot of our hospitality community has commended us for our good work over the last few months because we were a lifeline for them, as we were one of the only venues in the area that were able to operate with small crowds or any crowd at all, for that matter.
Right. As you look, again, you're very optimistic about this year, but the pandemic obviously is not over yet. Still a lot of questions surrounding it. What is going to be key in your mind to having a successful year, still with the dark cloud of the pandemic hanging over everyone, really?
Yeah, and to your point, we're not out of this yet. So we've maintained a lot of our safety protocols, and we're really trying to make sure when we do return to our busy season this summer that people feel safe when they return. So a lot of the things that we've done in the heart of the pandemic, we're maintaining until we get an all clear that we're able to kind of release some of those.
How do you think, final question, how do you think the pandemic will affect sports, amateur sports venues like yours? There are many around the country. It's a big industry, really. How do you think the pandemic ultimately will impact that industry, if you will?
Yeah, in addition to my role at Grand Park, I do a lot of other consulting in this space, and I will tell you, there's not been a slowdown from people looking to build facilities like ours. It's competition for us, obviously, but as we look at the industry, it really strengthens the industry, and we've always indicated that youth sports is recession-proof. Yeah. And it's starting to kind of prove itself out to be that.
All right, William Knox, the director at Grand Park, optimistic looking ahead. William, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, this week, a new study released by the Indie Music Strategy Commission shows building the music ecosystem in Indianapolis could create $1 billion industry and 8,500 jobs. The consortium released a 3-year strategy to guide the economic development initiative as part of the commission's goal to boost the profile of Indy as a music city on a global stage. It hired music policy consulting group Sound Diplomacy to provide data and research on the music sector. The commission says the plan encourages an approach where Indy's musicians, professionals, and others work together to advocate for change to build that industry. Well, Justin Christian got in on the front end of the IT consulting business more than 20 years ago. He's blazed a trail ever since, growing his company into Indiana's largest black-owned business. More on Christian, the explosive growth of his company, BC Forward, and a big award coming his way when we come back. Well, this year's TechPoint Trailblazer of the Year, Mira Award winner, is a Hoosier entrepreneurial giant, a business leader, philanthropist, a pioneer among minority business owners in the state. Justin Christian founded IT consulting firm BC Forward in 1998, and he's watched his company grow into Indiana's largest black-owned business and one of the largest in the country. TechPoint honoring Christian at its 22nd annual Mirror Awards Gala later this month. Pleased to be joined, as always, by TechPoint CEO Mike Langelier to learn more about Justin Christian and also a few other tidbits, interesting tidbits about the Mirror Awards. And Mike, as always, great to see you.
Hi there, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's start with the Mirror Awards. 22nd year. It is an amazing event. It has continued to grow over all these years. Give us a thumbnail sketch of the Mirror and really what the awards gala is all about.
Yeah, for those that are not familiar, they can think about it as the Oscars of tech in Indiana. It recognizes remarkable achievements by companies, individuals, educational institutions, even cities in the year prior, in typically 15 or so different awards categories. And it's the largest, it's the longest running tech community event in the state. It happens every spring, and this year it's on April 22nd from 8 to 10 p.m. It's produced by TechPoint, which is the growth in Indiana's tech industry. And in a normal year, we'd be downtown in person with a sold out crowd of 1,400 or so people at the JW Marriott. But this year it'll be a virtual production. And those where everyone who applies or are nominated does so in January. And then we have 52 volunteer judges who invest about 800 hours into a judging process to determine who the winners will be.
Yeah, a lot of interest, statewide interest from companies of all shapes and sizes, entrepreneurs, innovators. Any surprises this year, Mike?
Yeah, there were two things. We didn't quite know what to expect going into this year, being on the heels of the pandemic. But in the pandemic, we worried that applications would be down if last year was a bad for a lot of companies. But in fact, we had a record number of applications with 211 applications. Companies did well despite the pandemic, but also we created a new category for this year called the Pandemic Pivot Award. And so we're glad we did, because some of the most remarkable feats last year were the ways that companies and individuals adapted amidst the pandemic to survive, serve customers, seize new market opportunities. Those are some of the most interesting things I look forward to sharing. The other that I'd say, racial and gender equity has been on everyone's minds over the past year. And we worked really hard to reach out to all corners of the state and many different communities to expand the tent of the tech community and make sure we were recognizing and also celebrating the full range of the community. And I was thrilled that this year also we had the most diverse nominee class. We had 36% of the nominees that were women, people of color, immigrants, or a combination as founders, CEOs, presidents. Step in the right direction.
And you've released a small number of the award winners, and that's reflective of the diversity you talk about. When you talk about the Trailblazer Award winner, Justin Christian, who's a great entrepreneur and community leader, he'll be your Trailblazer Award winner this year.
Yeah, well, as you referenced, and I won't restate some of the highlights about Justin and how he's grown, BC Forward. Since 1998 to now, over 6,500 people employed there, wow, making it the state's largest Black-owned company, one of the 100 largest Black-owned companies in the country. In addition to being a stylish dresser, which he's long been known as a stylish dresser and a proud dad with 4 daughters. As you know, he's also become an active philanthropist and a community leader as well. But we've also announced here over the course of the past week 2 other awards with the Rising Tech City Award, which Bloomington won for their development of the Mill and the Trades District Certified Tech Park. And then also the Bridge Builder Award winner is Rose Holman, Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Dr. Carlotta Berry, for her work advocating for underrepresented young people.
Very quickly, 10 seconds. Mike, anything new to expect at Mira?
Yeah, so as I said, this year's virtual. We had last year over 5,000 people who tuned in. I think we'll expect more this year. The nice thing about it being virtual is that it's anyone can watch for free from home. It'll be a fast-paced event, 2 hours from 8 to 10 p.m. on April 22nd. New this year is that we're going to have a couple local artists. Native Son, one of Indy's premier hip-hop groups, who performed the March Madness show along with Man and Voice. And then also we're going to have a local artist in Deanna Craig who will do a painting live gala that will be given away in a drawing, and the proceeds will support underrepresented students.
All right, Mirror Awards coming up just a little bit later in the month, April 22nd. Mike Langelier, TechPoint, thanks. Looking forward to the event. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Gary.
And I'll be right back. Coming up next week, I will go one-on-one with new AES Indiana CEO Christina Lund, talk about her vision for the utility. We'll also take you inside some Indiana businesses setting up vaccination clinics. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures, with support from WFYI Productions.